Facts about the Titanic sinking. The Titanic is one of the most famous ships in existence. It was created at the Harland and Wolff Shipyard by the White Star Line, which is controlled by American J.P. Morgan. The Olympic and the Britannic were the Titanic's two sister ships. On April 10, 1912, the magnificent ship sailed from Southampton. The ship's pull as it set sail was so strong that it wrecked a nearby boat. The Titanic had a length of 882 feet and a breadth of 92 feet and cost over $7.5 million to build. The ticket would cost $4,700 to fly in first class. The ship was close to attaining its top speed as it was moving at 22.5 knots. Therefore, it is believed that the ship was moving too quickly for the circumstances in which it met its demise. 6 iceberg warnings were disregarded by the crew after 4 days at sea. The ship sped up and turned to steer clear of an approaching iceberg. Scientists have determined that the damage would have been less severe if the ship had turned considerably later. A tiny iceberg was struck by the ship around 11:40 p.m. 400 miles off of Canada's Newfoundland. Between 220 and 245 feet long was the gash the iceberg left behind. 5 waterproof compartments were inundated via the breach. It's thought that even with damage to only 4 compartments, the ship might have managed to float. The Carpathian was the vessel that was nearest when the distress call was broadcast, but it was more than 58 miles and 4 hours distant. There were 1,178 available lifeboat seats on the Titanic, but several of the lifeboats departed the ship only halfway filled. Women and children were among them, therefore Captain Edward J. Smith gave the order to board first. In order to save himself and board the lifeboat, Daniel Buckley pretended to be a woman. He made it. The ocean liner went down in barely 3 hours, at 2:20 in the morning on April 15, 1912. That night, 1,503 people passed away, passengers, crew members, and the band, which played until the ship completely submerged, were all killed. Only Charles Juffin managed to stay alive in the icy Atlantic waters. The catastrophe left 705 survivors. Until her death in 2009, Melvina Dean, who was 9 weeks old when she was on one of the lifeboats, was the oldest survivor. 12,600 feet below the surface of the ocean is where the Titanic is submerged. The oceanographer Dr. Robert Ballard made a new discovery of it in 1985. The ship had disintegrated, leaving its wreckage strewn across the ocean floor. They were discovered at least 2,000 feet away from one another. Never will the Titanic be hauled to the surface. It continues to serve as a monument for the passengers and crew who perished that terrible night. People from all across the world were still reflecting on the catastrophe a century later. At 11:40 p.m., in remembrance of the deceased, wreaths were dropped over the shipwreck on April 14, 2012, by candlelight and the light of the moon. Additionally, the Titanic has been immortalized in popular culture, particularly through the 1997 full-length film Titanic and more current television adaptations. It was helmed by James Cameron and stars Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. During the 2012 Easter weekend, the movie was re-released in 3D theaters to mark the 100th anniversary of the ship's tragedy. The movie's theme tune, "My Heart Will We Go On," is one of the best-selling singles of all time and is frequently played for the first dance at weddings.